Some people say we're a real-life Rocky story.
Rocky, David versus Goliath. These days, they are the cliched analogies of sports hyperbole, but they ring true all the way back to one unforgettable moment and one game between the U.S. hockey team and the Soviet Union. The setting? A sheet of ice in Lake Placid, a tiny village in the Adirondack Mountains during the 1980 Winter Olympics. On one side, a group of amateurs and college kids just recently brought together. On the other, a team of world-class athletes that were bigger, stronger, and had won the gold medal in 6 of the previous 7 Olympic Games. No one was expecting much from Team USA.
I think our average age might have been 21 and a half, where the Soviets were somewhere around 27. We had one guy that had played in an Olympic team. Buzzy Schneider played in 1976. I think they probably had 20 players that had all played.
These were just kids going against a quote-unquote amateur Soviet machine that played together all year. That was their job. It was no reason to expect anything but defeat in the end at the hands of the Soviets, possibly a humiliating defeat.
What happened instead was a miracle. Much was going on in the world when those 20 young men went to Lake Placid trying to make their country proud.
The economy was topsy-turvy. Americans were a little frustrated. The hostages in Iran, we felt frustrated. The Russians were invading Afghanistan. The mood of our country was a little bit down.
We're in this little village in Lake Placid, very small, KGB guys all around because they're, protecting their athletes. Don't know what the atmosphere was. Not talk about a Cold War.
Global politics hung like a dark cloud over the games. The Soviet invasion of Afghanistan had President Jimmy Carter threatening a boycott of the Summer Olympics, which were scheduled to be held in Moscow that summer. But something magical happened inside the very protected bubble that was the Olympic Village back in February of 1980. The ragtag team of players wearing the USA jersey on their backs gave the nation something to believe in again. The U.S. team had only been assembled 6 months before the Olympics. In that brief window, head coach Herb Brooks put the players through a training program unlike any they'd ever experienced.
We called him the Ayatollah. That was the nickname for Herb, and we called Craig Patrick was Idi Amin because they were so strict. But I think in that situation, he had to be the way he was.
There's no question I really pushed them. I pushed them because I knew these were the type of people that would respond to it. We worked them very hard.
They played some 50 games against mostly minor league teams, but the true measuring stick was a matchup with the Soviet team just a few days before the opening ceremonies, a crushing 10-3 loss.
We went in there all jacked up and all geared up, and they just destroyed us. And I think what it really did for us is it helped us relax.
They played their Olympic opener 3 days later against a favored Sweden team, scoring with just 27 seconds left to earn a 2-2 tie. The Czechoslovakian team was up next, and the U.S. dominated them 7-3. They finished group play with wins over Norway, Romania, and West Germany, outscoring them 16-5. The Soviets, meanwhile, breezed past their 5 opponents in group play, scoring 51 goals along the way, setting up a rematch with the U.S. in the medal round on February 22, 1980.
We had another shot at them, so to speak. So now we had just built, 10 days of confidence, and we were ready for them when we played them.
Brooks and his staff did everything they could to keep the players focused on themselves and the task at hand. He didn't make them available to the media, and aside from the steady stream of telegrams coming in, they had little idea what was going on outside the Olympic Village.
There's no cable TV, there's no internet, there's no Twitter, and none of that stuff, right? There's the 3 sort of network, ABC, NBC, CBS. That's it. And then the only news we're getting this like daily Olympic Village sort of newspaper that's just circulated amongst here in Lake Placid, and we're getting 2-day-old New York Posts.
About 2-3 games into the hockey, the boss said, forget the schedule. Just do hockey every day. People are going crazy.
I felt they were right to be beaten. I felt that the Russians were really thought they were really better than they were, and we all know how great they were. So we took that and used it as a sort of a. We said over and over, someone's going to beat them. Someone's going to beat them. We can do it.
He said that. He goes, this is your time. He goes, this is a moment. This is our moment. It's not there. And he really did throw down on the Russians, and he was intense, and he was like so proud of us. And he said, you put yourselves in this spot. No one put you here. You put yourselves here. And this is everything we did was to get here. And you guys did it. So he goes, now go finish it.
As they had done in every other game, Team USA gave up the first goal, but came from behind twice in the first period, with Mark Johnson scoring a goal that tied it at 2 just before the buzzer sounded. And then, a turning point.
The Russians are, they were all, aggravated, so they went off the ice. Well, what happens though, because even though there's some part of a second left, even though the clock says 0, so there has to be a face-off, and then the buzzer goes off. So the refs had to go in and get the Russians out of the locker room, and I'm on the bench, and so they had to go drag the Russians out. So they dragged 5 Russians out to take the face-off. It's just gonna be drop the puck, period, over. But they sent Mishkin out, not Tretiak.
Vladislav Tretiak was the best goaltender in the world at the time, and being benched in favor of Vladimir Mishkin, his backup, was unheard of. While Mishkin had recently shut out a group of NHL All-Stars 6-0, Soviet coach Viktor Tikhonov, sitting down Tretiak, sent a message to both teams.
As the years have gone on, the Russian, the Soviet players have said, we just couldn't believe it. We were shocked. And even Tikhonov, who was passed away recently, said it was the biggest regret of his coaching career, that it sent the wrong message to the Soviet team, one of maybe panic.
That shook that team up, and they came out in the second period, and it was a blitzkrieg. I don't know what the shots were, but they was something like 17-3. So we barely touched the puck in the second period. Fortunately, we got out of that period we only gave up 1 goal, so we're a goal down now at the end of the second, which is where we wanted to be.
U.S. goalie Jim Craig was at his best, surviving the storm of shots the Soviets peppered him with. The third period belonged to Team USA. They scored a power play goal at the 8:39 mark, and less than 2 minutes later,
2 things were going through my mind. One, the Soviet defenseman was either going to come at me, and if he did, I was going to pass it through to Billy Baker, cut into the net, or he was going to stay there and try to block the shot. And if he was going to do that, then I was going to shoot it and use him as a screen. And he stayed, and I shot it, and it went in. No way I thought that game was going to end 4-3. They're too great a team to just rely on and think you're going to win by a goal with 10 minutes left to go.
It's like the longest 10 minutes of our lives. They did not mount a charge. And Harry kept reminding us, he goes, do what you do, do what we know how to do, play your game, and we did that.
You couldn't even hear yourself, and the crowd is wild, and things are really furious, but everything is in slow motion because all these little things there seem to be falling in place.
We were playing on heart. We were playing on pride. We had the Soviets 4-3. The place was just going crazy at this time, and I don't think God could have come down and won that game at that point. I mean, we were just now playing for our lives.
the 8,500 frenzied fans in the building counted down the last 10 seconds, and on television, play-by-play man Al Michaels capped the unthinkable win with a call that would become as memorable as the team's victory.
You believe in miracles? Yes!
And when that game was over, we just exploded into each other. And, I come off the bench. I mean, I jumped on Ramsey. Guys were jumping on Jimmy. I mean, it was like, it was nonstop for how much time. I don't know how long it went on for, but the Russians had to stand there and watch it.
I think that game was meant for us to win. And, I'm thankful that, Mike Eruzione happened to be the guy that shot the puck in.
Their celebration would be short-lived on that Friday night. They still had one more game left against Finland Sunday for the gold medal. The team watched the game with their families, which was on tape delay that night, and Brooks finally allowed some of his stars to speak to the media the following day after practice.
I think tomorrow maybe we have a little more pressure than what we think, and we just have to give that other team a little bit more respect than we gave even the Russians because of the fact that we have so much more at stake than we did yesterday.
I think we realize what's in front of us. I feel right now we're all good enough athletes and good enough hockey players to realize that, you know, one win tomorrow is going to give us a dream that very few people in the world can say they had a chance to do, and that's win a gold medal.
Team USA came out and once again found themselves down 1-0. And with just 20 minutes left to play, we're facing a 2-1 deficit. Brooks had one final and very clear message for his team.
Herb Brooks addressed the team and said, if you lose this game, you'll take it to your grave.
Message received.
The greatest 20 minutes of hockey we played over the course of 9 months was our last period of hockey against Finland when we outscored them 3-0 and won the gold medal.
A feat that would never have been possible without a miracle on February 22nd, 1980.
Wow. Tough to beat that. Tough to beat like Blessed.